My dear friends, for too long, you have been taught that you are powerless, that life happens to you, that you must accept whatever circumstances have been dealt to you. But I tell you now, with every fiber of my being, with every breath of truth that flows through me, this is the greatest lie ever told to man. You are not powerless. You are not victims. You are not at the mercy of a cruel and capricious fate. The universe, this magnificent, responsive, living field of infinite possibility, is not your master. It is your servant. It does not command you. You command it. It does not dictate to you. You dictate to it. The universe will obey you, must obey you, because you are the operant power in your own experience. Today, I will strip away the veils of illusion that have kept you in bondage. I will show you the mechanics of creation itself. I will teach you to pray not as beggars, but as gods. For that is what you are. Gods in amnesia, creators who have forgotten their power, artists who have lost sight of their canvas. Listen carefully, for what I am about to tell you will shatter everything you think you know about the nature of existence. Reality, this solid, seemingly immutable world around you, is not what it appears to be. It is not fixed. It is not permanent. It is not even real in the way you have been taught to understand reality. Reality is consciousness, is mind. It is imagination made visible. The world you see, touch, and experience is nothing more than your own consciousness pushed out, objectified, made manifest in the theater of space and time. I have seen the faces of those who believe themselves trapped by circumstances, and I have witnessed the transformation of those who discovered their power. The difference between them is not luck, not privilege, not even circumstances. It is understanding. The mystics of old knew this truth. They spoke in parables and symbols because the human mind, trapped in its limited understanding, could not grasp the full magnitude of what they were revealing. When they said the kingdom of heaven is within you, they were not speaking metaphorically. They were stating a literal fact. The power to create heaven on earth lies within your very consciousness. Modern science, in its relentless pursuit of truth, has stumbled upon this same revelation. At the quantum level, reality exists in a state of infinite potential, waves of possibility that collapse into particles of experience only when observed. You are that observer. You are the one who chooses, moment by moment, which possibility becomes your reality. But here is where science and spirituality meet in perfect harmony. The observer is not passive. The observer is creative. The observer shapes reality through the very act of observation. And what determines the nature of that observation? Your assumptions, your beliefs, your dominant feeling states, your imagination. Assumption, this simple word, holds the key to all creation. When you assume something to be true, when you accept it as fact in your consciousness, you set in motion forces that must bring it to pass. The universe has no choice in the matter. It must conform to your assumptions, because assumption is the creative power of consciousness itself. I have seen miracles born from assumption. I have witnessed the impossible become inevitable through the power of one person's unwavering assumption. A woman assumes she is loved, and love flows to her from sources she never could have imagined. A man assumes he is successful, and opportunities appear as if the universe itself is conspiring to fulfill his assumption. But I have also seen the tragic power of negative assumption. People assume they are unlucky, and misfortune follows them like a shadow. They assume they are unworthy, and life reflects that unworthiness back to them in 1,000 painful ways. They assume they are limited, and limitation becomes their prison. The universe does not judge your assumptions. It does not deem them right or wrong, good or bad. It simply obeys them. It is the perfect servant, responding to your every command with mathematical precision. But understand this: your assumptions are your commands. Every assumption you hold is an order given to the universe, and the universe must fill that order. This is why I implore you to examine your assumptions with the care of a jeweler examining a precious stone. What are you assuming about yourself? About your possibilities? About your worth? About your future? These assumptions are not idle thoughts. They are the very blueprints from which your reality is constructed. I remember a man who came to me in despair. He had been unemployed for months, and everywhere he looked, he saw only rejection and closed doors. The world is against me, he said. There are no opportunities for someone like me. I looked at him with compassion and said, my friend, you are absolutely right. As long as you assume there are no opportunities, there will be none. As long as you assume the world is against you, it will be. But what if you dared to assume the opposite? This man, through practice and persistence, began to assume that opportunities were everywhere, that the world was eager to reward his talents, that he was exactly what employers were looking for. Within weeks, not days, but weeks, his world transformed. The same employers who had previously rejected him were now calling him. The same world that had seemed hostile now appeared friendly and welcoming. What changed? Not the world. The world is always neutral. What changed was his assumption, and with it, his reality. Oh, but how the word prayer has been corrupted, how it has been twisted into an act of begging, of pleading, of desperate supplication to a distant and often indifferent God. I tell you now, this is not prayer, this is spiritual poverty. True prayer is not begging or asking. True prayer is not hoping or wishing or pleading. It is the art of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is the conscious act of inhabiting the state of consciousness that corresponds to your desire already being real. When you pray effectively, you do not reach outward with empty hands. You reach inward to the infinite storehouse of possibilities that exists within your own consciousness. You select the reality you wish to experience, and you feel it as true. You inhabit it. You become it. I have taught this truth for decades, and I have seen it transform lives in ways that would be called miraculous if people understood that miracles are simply the natural result of conscious creation. A mother prays for her child's healing, not by begging a distant God, but by assuming the feeling of her child already being whole and perfect. A man prays for abundance not by pleading for money, but by inhabiting the consciousness of already being prosperous. This is the prayer that moves mountains, that parts the waters, that brings the dead back to life, not because it convinces some external deity to intervene, but because it aligns consciousness with the reality that already exists in the infinite field of possibilities. When you pray as I teach you to pray, you do not pray for something to happen. You pray from the reality of it already having happened. You thank the universe not for what you hope to receive, but for what you already possess in consciousness. You feel the gratitude, the joy, the relief of having received what you desire. And here is the beautiful paradox. The moment you truly feel your desire as already fulfilled, the desire itself disappears. You no longer want it because you have it. You no longer seek it because you are it. You have closed the gap between desire and fulfillment, not by getting what you want, but by becoming what you want. If assumption is the seed, then feeling is the soil in which that seed grows. Without feeling, assumption is merely an intellectual exercise. With feeling, assumption becomes a creative force that reshapes reality itself. Feeling is the secret. These words contain more power than entire libraries of philosophy. Your feeling state is your creative state. Your emotions are not just reactions to circumstances, they are the very forces that create circumstances. I have observed people who intellectually understand these principles, but fail to apply them successfully. They know that assumption creates reality, but they cannot seem to manifest their desires. Why? Because they are missing the crucial element, feeling. They assume with their minds, but not with their hearts. They think the right thoughts, but do not feel the right feelings. The universe does not respond to your thoughts. It responds to your feelings. It responds to your emotional state. It responds to the vibration you emit through your being. When you feel truly abundant, you attract abundance. When you feel genuinely loved, you attract love. When you feel deeply grateful, you attract more reasons to be grateful. But here is where most people stumble. They try to feel good about their current circumstances instead of feeling good about their desired circumstances. They wait for evidence before they allow themselves to feel fulfilled. They make their emotional state dependent on external conditions. This is backwards. This is the thinking of the old world, the world of effect, rather than cause. You do not feel good because good things happen to you. Good things happen to you because you feel good. You do not feel loved because someone loves you. Someone loves you because you feel loved. I remember a woman who came to me broken-hearted. She had been rejected by the man she loved, and she was convinced that she was unlovable. Her heart was closed. Her spirit was crushed, and she radiated the energy of rejection and unworthiness. How can I attract love? She asked me, when I feel so unloved. I said to her, my dear, you have the sequence reversed. You do not wait to feel loved until someone loves you. You feel loved first, and then someone must love you. The universe is a mirror, and it can only reflect back to you what you are already being. She began to practice feeling loved, not because of any external reason, but simply because she chose to feel loved. She imagined herself being cherished, adored, treasured. She felt the warmth of being held, the joy of being chosen, the security of being valued. She did this not once, but daily, until this feeling became her natural state. Within months, not one but several men entered her life, each recognizing in her the very quality she had been cultivating within herself. She had not changed anything external. She had simply changed her internal state, and the external world had no choice but to conform to that change. The goal of all these teachings is to help you live from the end. This means living not from the state of wanting your desire, but from the state of having it. It means not seeking what you wish to be, but being what you wish to be. It means not hoping for a different future, but living from that future now. Living from the end requires a fundamental shift in identity. You must become the version of yourself who naturally possesses what you desire. You must walk as that person, speak as that person, think as that person, feel as that person. When this becomes your natural state, not an act you put on, but the truth of who you are, manifestation is not just possible, it is inevitable. I have observed that people struggle with this concept because they confuse having with getting. They think living from the end means pretending to have what they don't have. But living from the end is not pretense, it is presence. It is being present to the reality that already exists in consciousness. A man who lives from the end of financial abundance does not pretend he has money when he doesn't. He lives from the consciousness of abundance. He feels abundant. He thinks abundant thoughts. He makes abundant choices. He radiates the energy of abundance. And because the universe must mirror consciousness, abundance has no choice but to manifest in his experience. This is the great paradox of creation. You must be it before you can have it. You must become it before you can receive it. You must live from it before you can live in it. The external world is always the effect, never the cause. Consciousness is always the cause, never the effect. I remember a young artist who dreamed of international recognition. She had talent, but she had not yet achieved the success she desired. I taught her to live from the end of already being a celebrated artist. She began to feel the gratitude of having her work displayed in galleries around the world. She imagined the joy of receiving accolades from critics and collectors. She felt the satisfaction of being recognized for her genius. At first, nothing seemed to change in her external circumstances. But gradually, subtly, her world began to shift. She started making different choices. She began to value her work differently. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who knew her worth. And the world, sensing this change in her, began to respond differently to her. Within 2 years, her work was being shown internationally. Critics were calling her a rising star. Collectors were seeking out her pieces. She had not become successful in order to feel successful. She had felt successful first, and success had followed as naturally as morning follows night. In the process of conscious creation, there comes a moment that is perhaps the most difficult for the human mind to understand and accept, the moment of rest. After you have assumed, after you have felt, after you have lived from the end, you must enter what I call the Sabbath, a state of perfect rest and complete trust. This is the moment when you stop trying to make it happen. This is the moment when you stop looking for signs and searching for evidence. This is the moment when you simply rest in the knowing that it is done. You have planted the seed in the fertile soil of consciousness, and now you must trust that it will grow in its own time and in its own way. This is where most people fail. They assume their desire fulfilled. They feel it as true. They live from the end, and then they immediately begin to worry about how it will manifest. They look for signs of its coming. They become anxious when they don't see immediate results. They dig up the seed to see if it's growing. But the law of manifestation requires a period of gestation. Just as a seed must spend time in the darkness of the soil before it can break through into the light, your assumption must spend time in the darkness of the invisible before it can emerge into the visible. This is not delay. This is the natural rhythm of creation. During this Sabbath period, you must guard your assumption jealously. You must not allow doubt to creep in. You must not allow impatience to disturb your peace. You must not allow the evidence of your senses to contradict the truth of your assumption. You must rest in the certainty that what you have assumed is already true in the only realm that matters, the realm of consciousness. I have seen people manifest their desires in days, and I have seen others take months or even years. The difference is not in the difficulty of the desire, it is in the quality of the Sabbath. Those who manifest quickly are those who enter the Sabbath completely. They assume, they feel, they rest, and they trust. They do not waver. They do not doubt. They do not interfere with the natural process of manifestation. As you practice these teachings, as you begin to live from the consciousness of your desires fulfilled, you will start to notice something magical happening in your world. Synchronicities will multiply. Meaningful coincidences will increase. The right people will appear at the right time. The right opportunities will present themselves. The right resources will become available. These are not accidents. These are not coincidences. These are the universe rearranging itself to match your new assumptions. These are the signs that your consciousness is successfully impressing itself upon the field of infinite possibility. Do not be surprised by these signs. Expect them. Do not be amazed by these synchronicities. Welcome them. But do not make the mistake of becoming so fascinated by the signs that you forget the state. The signs are the effect. The state is the cause. The signs are the shadow. The state is the substance. I remember a woman who was assuming the reality of her perfect marriage. She had been single for years, but she lived from the consciousness of being happily married. She felt the joy of sharing her life with someone who loved and cherished her. She imagined coming home to a loving partner. She felt the warmth of being chosen and valued. As she persisted in this assumption, signs began to appear. She would see couples everywhere, holding hands, laughing together, radiating love. She would overhear conversations about weddings and anniversaries. She would find herself in situations where she was surrounded by happily married people. Some might have seen these as painful reminders of what she didn't have, but she understood them as signs that her assumption was taking root in consciousness. Soon, a friend invited her to a small gathering. There, she met a man who seemed to recognize her instantly. Their conversation flowed effortlessly. Their connection was immediate and profound. Within a year they were married, and she found herself living the exact reality she had been assuming all along. The signs were not random. They were the bridge between her assumption and its manifestation. They were the universe's way of preparing her for the reality she had already claimed in consciousness. The deepest and most profound work of conscious creation is not the manifestation of things, it is the transformation of identity. When you truly understand and apply these teachings, you do not just get different results, you become a different person. You do not just change your circumstances, you change yourself. This transformation is not superficial. It is not merely a change in behavior or attitude. It is a fundamental shift in your understanding of who you are and what you are capable of. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances, but as the creator of circumstances. You begin to understand yourself not as a passive observer of life, but as an active participant in the creation of life. This shift in identity is perhaps the most precious gift these teachings can offer. Because once you know who you truly are, Once you understand your power, your divinity, your creative authority, you can never again be fooled into believing that you are powerless. You can never again be convinced that you are at the mercy of forces beyond your control. I have watched people undergo this transformation, and it is beautiful to behold. A man who once saw himself as unlucky begins to see himself as blessed. A woman who once believed she was unworthy begins to know herself as precious. A person who once felt powerless begins to recognize their infinite creative potential. This transformation is not immediate. It is a process. It requires patience, persistence, and practice. But every time you successfully assume a new reality and see it manifest, you strengthen your understanding of who you are. Every time you revise your past and see its effects change, you deepen your knowledge of your power. Every time you live from the end and watch the beginning rearrange itself, you confirm your divine nature. The path of conscious creation is not always easy. There will be moments when doubt creeps in. There will be times when the evidence of your senses contradicts your assumptions. There will be periods when it seems like nothing is working, when your desires seem as distant as ever. In these moments, remember that persistence is the price of admission to the kingdom of fulfilled desires. The universe is testing not your worthiness, but your commitment. It is asking not whether you deserve your desires, but whether you are willing to persist in your assumption despite contrary evidence. I have observed that most people give up just before their breakthrough. They assume, they feel, they even begin to see signs, and then they encounter a challenge that seems to contradict their assumption. Instead of persisting, they abandon their assumption and return to their old patterns of thought and feeling. But those who persist, who continue to assume despite contrary evidence, who maintain their feeling states despite challenging circumstances, these are the ones who experience what the world calls miracles. They are the ones who transform their lives completely. They are the ones who prove that the universe will indeed obey consciousness. Persistence does not mean strain or struggle. It means returning again and again to your assumption, to your feeling, to your state of being. It means gently correcting yourself when you slip back into old patterns. It means choosing your desired reality over and over again, regardless of what your senses tell you. But with great power comes great responsibility. When you understand that you are the creator of your experience, you must also accept responsibility for what you have created. This is not a burden, it is a liberation. Because if you created your current reality, you can create a different one. But this responsibility extends beyond yourself. When you know that consciousness creates reality, you become responsible for the consciousness you hold, not just about your own life, but about the world around you. You become responsible for the assumptions you make about others, the judgments you pass, the energy you contribute to the collective human experience. This is why I teach not just the mechanics of manifestation, but the ethics of creation. Use your power wisely. Assume the best for others as well as for yourself. See the world not as it appears, but as it could be. Hold the vision of a world filled with love, abundance, peace, and joy. Your individual consciousness contributes to the collective consciousness of humanity. I have seen people use these teachings to transform not just their own lives, but the lives of everyone around them. A teacher who sees the genius in every student helps those students discover their own brilliance. A parent who assumes the best for their children helps those children become their best selves. A leader who holds the vision of a thriving community helps that community thrive. My dear friends, as we conclude this journey together, I want you to understand one final crucial truth. You are not learning something new. You are remembering something ancient. You are not acquiring a power that is foreign to you. You are reclaiming a power that has always been yours. You are gods. You are creators. You are the artists of your own experience. This is your divine heritage. This is your birthright. This is not fantasy. This is your reality. The universe will obey you because you are the universe. The universe will serve you because you are the universe experiencing itself subjectively. The universe will respond to your consciousness because consciousness is all there is. You have been playing a game of hide and seek with yourself. You have been pretending to be powerless so that you could experience the joy of discovering your power. You have been pretending to be separate so that you could experience the bliss of remembering your unity. You have been pretending to be human so that you could experience the wonder of awakening to your divinity. But the game is over now. The hiding time is finished. It is time to seek and find. It is time to remember who you are, to reclaim your power, to step into your role as the conscious creator of your experience. The universe is waiting. It has always been waiting. It is your faithful servant, your obedient mirror, your loving partner in the dance of creation. Speak to it through your assumptions. Command it through your feelings. Direct it through your consciousness. And watch as it responds with perfect precision to your every instruction. You are not powerless. You are not victims. And you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You never were. You are the creators of circumstances, the authors of your story, the architects of your reality. The begging is over. The pleading is finished. The waiting is done. Go forth and create. The universe will obey you because you are the universe. And the universe always obeys itself. This is your truth, your power, your destiny. Claim it, live it, be it, and watch as the world transforms around you, reflecting back to you the magnificent reality of who you truly are.